Hiya, it's Xavier, and I've altered my pose. Apparently the algorithm likes that, although I'm not sure my knees do. Yeah, it's Xavier from my favourite bonsai retreat, which is my back garden, and today I've got a load of Ginkgo to be looking at. Ginkgo Balboa. Is that like Rocky Balboa? I'm sure I've done that joke before. Oh, Adrian, we did it. They've been growing incredibly over the last 2 to 3 weeks. So now that they've been doing that, I think I should respond by cutting everything off. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably quickly show you some of the ones that you saw in the previous video I did earlier this year. And then I'm going to concentrate on 2 that you didn't see. Because with those, I've also got the repots. So that's something a bit different. And I know that we're now moving, for the sake of time frame, I'm in the last week of June, which is getting to the end of my my pruning time, really. So hopefully you'll enjoy this Ginkgo experience. I love working with them, and my cuttings are doing really well as well. I'll have to show you those. So let's get to it, shall we? Okay, well, I thought it would be a great time to do some filming because the sun had gone behind the clouds, and yeah, we all know how that plan works out. So the collars are up and everything like that. Oh, one thing I want to do before we go into this, some of you will probably notice that I'm going for a few more dramatic titles that you might think don't quite reflect the video itself, like incredible transformations from failed air layer or abysmal air layer. And I'll be quite honest, I'm trying to find ways that Google will actually put my videos in front of more people. And I think the truth of the matter is you have to experiment with stuff like that, which is why you've also find that not only do I change the titles, I also change the thumbnails. So I'm trying to find different things that hopefully will get me in front of more people, because I have decided, thanks to all the hard work you've done of actually watching while I produce, I'm even starting to think that, you know, in another year or 2 I may actually be able to be semi-retired on this and one of my pensions, which will come in a few years' time. God, I wonder if I get my bus pass as well. Anyway, so that's why I'm probably trying to be a bit more serious on various aspects of it, because I'm here to stay, unless you tell me in the comments I really shouldn't be. Anyway, Ginkgo Bonsai. These are the 2 you haven't seen. I'll give you a spin how it's looking now. Very, very ugly and scarred, and definitely a product of cheap imports from probably China. So I'm going to make a few decisions on this, or whether to incorporate it in the design. Give you a spin. There's not a lot of growth on it, so I may not actually do that much to it. No growth tells me the tree is producing just what it can with the energy it has. So to actually ask it to produce more might be dangerous. So we'll have a look. It may be that I'll look at perhaps at the suckers that are growing from the bottom. So there's that one. And then we've got this one. This one's got a bit more growth on the top here, you can see. So it is literally going to be a couple of snips, I'd imagine. Get rid of some weeds. We don't want the weeds. Very, very interesting species of tree. A bit like the dawn redwood. It is one of the more prehistoric genuses, and as a result heals slowly. I don't think it's ideally suited to air layer. So they're the 2 we'll get on with now. Before we do that, should we look at the repot we did on this one way back when the world was cold and there was no sun. And that's just dried totally on top. You look at that, and for a start you think I want to discount the tree, but the truth is, you know, one, you can't get these, and you know, it's nearly impossible to get import bonsais now without paying a fortune. But the actual tree itself, if you pull it out and confidently look under it, there's some little, maybe we'll get some growth out of this. This one's more of a risk. This I'm going to soak a little bit more because they're very well matted, and this could be one of those ones where I take off practically all the roots. So I'm just going to do a little bit of pruning here. And the reason for doing it now is, say, I don't know what stability I've got. 1, 2, keep it nice down. that's crossing, so the two will never ever go together. At worst, if that's recovering goes well, I'll actually take that one out, and this could be the main tree. That's a dead one. Ginkgo are very soft, so they do scar, so I don't generally wire Ginkgo, but they do take to it. But any scarring in these doesn't come out easily. Yeah, so I don't need to make any plans about it. I've got this because in the end there is still nice shape, and any scarring has actually healed up and could well heal up a lot better. So there was another 4 or 5 there that I wasn't going to touch with a barge pole, to be honest. Anyway, let me get those potted and I'll show you how I get on. So where did we get to? That took by the time we tangled it out, it was just lots of wrapped around like that, and it looked like a great uncontrollable mass. But actually in the end, you've got nice little roots there. That's a longish one, so I'll probably cut that back. Cut them a bit. Bit of crossing there, but certainly there's enough there now. There's no real wiring points for it, so it's just going to be a case of bed it in and number 1 rock. And I'll just give that a water and that should be fine. Okay, well the sun's here to stay, so I'll put some more sun cream on, my Korean sun cream, which I'm absolutely loving, and it smells nice too. So let's have a look. You've seen the repot, and I'm sure that those of you managed to keep your eyes open through it. Thank you. And let's see what we need to do. The pruning shears, which are, believe it or not, I actually use the Ryoga root shears. I find the tip is much more heavy duty and holds the edge better. Well placed rock, which was obviously to keep it in place, because I don't know. No, it wasn't wired down. So we can get rid of some of the top weeds, but I'll do that later. You don't need to see that. And I am literally going to go that branch. I've got a leaf there that's getting a bit squiggly, but I want that to continue to extend, so I'm not going to touch that. Moving up, it's an interesting shape here, cleaning up leaves that are close to the close up here. We'll get rid of those, but the thickness of that branch I'm more than happy with, so I shall have a look. There's one that will come from here and here, so I'm going to cut it back to there. So we've got this here, and we'll let that come out. I'm not too worried about the bumps and bits here. We like this, but if we come up here a little bit, we've got a little small leaf here. We'll clear this away so we can see what we're doing. We've got here, there's an end bit, stub, so we'll cut that. And although they sort of suggest that you can have quite a few problems with dieback and stuff like that, I haven't really struggled with it, to be honest. And I know I've talked about it in previous Ginkgo videos, so we'll get rid of that one, just because I want to see the lines of the tree, and I also want to encourage it to push. Just take the growing tip off. Got this is coming off into here. I'd quite like a little branch to come out here. I'm going to take off the weaker one there. That's how it looks. I quite like that as a pad, so in fact let's take that one off and that little small one. I mean, I could actually, probably will do. Let's say I could, I should. So we're down to just 2 there, so we're trying to prompt more budding there. And that is as far as I'll go with that. They're a slow grower, so I'll take the weeds out. I'll put some of my Oceana pellets in there. I'll probably top up a bit of soil, and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so done with that one. Hopefully that's working out okay. This one, again, I've got the repot, which I'll show you, so we'll go to that now. Imported quite a while ago. You've got a really nice deep scarring down here, but it's so deep that it's actually, for me, I think quite an interesting interesting effect. We've got some runners here which will grow up. But if you looked at it, the roots look ropey, and you can see the soil. It is just a peat soil. So that is purely about moisture retention. But the buds are greening. They haven't burst, so now is a really good time. All the energy is now transferring up, but it's not actually been used in the buds yet. So that means now is an optimum time to do what you need to do when you get a new tree that's in this condition, is repot it, get it in some nice soil. So we turn it over, it's absolutely covered in this white. These are all the new root tips that are all looking to try and get some space, but the soil itself is just friable, and for the long-term health of the tree, absolutely useless. Apart from the fact that you've got roots that are going everywhere, it's going to do no good for the tree. And worse still, come the summer, when this starts sucking water, that's going to dry up very quickly, and the chances are, not this year, the following year, if you did nothing with it, it would die. Now, as Nigel would gleefully say, he'd be rubbing his hands right now, and if he watches this, I'm sure he's rubbing his hands watching me do this and seeing if I'm going to be a little bit more daring with how much root I take off. That's encouraging. I'm literally going to go to town on the bottom here. All the energy is up here. Up here. I will clip back to just a couple of new buds that I want. Goodness knows what the shape's going to be like for this thing, but yeah, this is my opportunity. So we've got this lovely great big root here. That's going to go. Let's do it now, because we've got nothing. What have we got coming off it? Nothing. So we're going to get rid of it. That's where I find out there's a load more. So great big root there. That's gone. We've got this lovely little matting of roots here. This one's coming back on itself. Get rid of that. Might keep that bulb under there for now, but there's two levels of roots. Could look good with this coming off it. Don't want the upper one though. And there's nice little ones there, so we'll get rid of this. This is my initial look at it. It's probably going to come lower. Don't want anything coming from the centre. There's enough roots there. That's no point having energy going to that. Although I'll take that off and they will get potted up. Lowers one, don't want those. And those. The truth is, I could probably nibble. There's about a centimetre there. Right, what I'll do now is I'll put that in. I'm just going to let that soak for a little bit. Okay, that's safely potted up there, secured in with wire. Potentially going to be good. So that's two of them, and give them a year to recover. They're going to be really nice trees, both of them. I can see that. Anyway, I'm going to get on with that. That's all for this, but that's literally just about. Don't be worried by the horrible roots. Just make sure that when you do get to them, you do the work on them early if they're in that state. Now, obviously, with this one, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 suckers coming up from it, but when you come in close and have a look, I'll tell you why that might actually be an advantage and make this look more like a raft or something along those lines. I mean, you can clearly see here we've got quite bad wire scarring, and this was with the tree before I got it, and this whole section here is actually dead. And although just here there is a bud, and it's funny, they really do bud back from pretty dead looking wood sometimes. So I'm loath to cut it out, although it's let's be honest, I mean, that is a classic cut. Why do I say classic like it always happens? But it's so bizarre and unusual. Again, if you look in there, really deep scarring from the wire. I'm quite happy to let that grow around it. So all I'm going to do is clear up some of the weeds you don't want growing in there. Make sure it's got a load of fertilizer in there, which it hasn't at the moment. Perhaps we'll remove that one. Maybe we don't need that one. Okay, so looking at that, I mean, I don't know if front-wise the front's going to be in there. It's whether I allow that to go on that side. I've still got options and choices, but what we will do, we want that to continue to grow up, but I like that actually. We'll get rid of that one. We've got this one in here. I'm not sure we need that one. And everyone's going, oh yes you did. Right, and we want these. This is quite nice growth. It's you know, if you're thinking prehistoric, there's something about this I really quite magical. I really quite like it. So possibly want to just prune some of this lower stuff here. Maybe that one because it's crossing in the front there. But so that looks like a little bush, two little bushes there. Then if we get this growing out as a back branch, and let this continue to grow up here. We've got a stub there. There's no great shoots of growth there, so I'm not going to go much harder. In fact, I didn't say it was going to be the longest of ones, but I think that's really as far as we're going with it. It's producing growth, but the fact that it's producing it, I think, from the base and these suckers tells me that the tree is recognising that the main original trunk growth hasn't got the integrity, love that word, the integrity that it needs or wants, I don't know. But 100% better than where it was. So what we'll do, loads of fertiliser on it, because I actually really want this to pump out growth like the others have. Put another top dressing on, and then we're done with those new ones. Okay, so they're the two that you haven't seen that are done. Well watered in. Got some Oceana feed in there, and minimal amount of pruning, but just enough, as you saw. It will be interesting to see how this develops. I love this one. Really do love this one. Can imagine that with loads of dinosaurs around it and stuff. In terms of where do I keep them, a bit like the Dawn Redwood. I definitely don't keep them in the full sun. They're in sort of probably 2/3 of the day are in shade or semi-shade. That's probably someone sending me a message. That'd be Adam sending a message saying you've got that one wrong as well. No. Okay, I've no doubt we all remember this one. This is definitely a favourite of mine, and was rewired up again. Quite happy the wire's not biting or anything. I've got to clean. There's that whole top dressing of moss now on top of that. I want to get rid of that. This needs to get water going in and out of it easily. We've got some growth, but it's not responded the strongest. Probably the best thing is I'll remove the moss and the grass first. Okay, well there was an absolute pile of debris and all sorts growing in there, and it's actually, I could tell that the roots, a lot of surface roots there, and again it's the thing I found with them, that they actually produce quite a lot of roots quite quickly. So I'll put this down in the database for a repot. As I say, I'm happy with the way the wire is. All I need to do is just clear it out a bit. This is the back, so we look in the front here. Not a lot I can do with some of this stuff. There's not tons of growth, so I just want to take off enough to try and get the plant to recognise that it does need to put a little bit of a push in there. So at the moment I'm going to leave that there, but there is something right down the bottom here which we don't want. Tell you what, loads of alerts coming through, so excuse the noise. Got this stub at the back. Get rid of that. Now in terms of this length here, I think the way of looking at it is I've got this all the way up to here, so really I need this to come up to this height, so I'm going to let this continue to grow up and push up. This, I'm quite happy for this to come out, so I don't really need to do anything much more with this. Just really creating an artificial sense of a pad this way and that way. Leave that for now. Come into the front here. We want to be able to look into the tree. So I'm going to take away anything that's going across the front there. It would be lovely if that develops to branch out, but there's no sign yet that it is. So again, I'm telling it, I'm going to take some of your leaves off, give me an arm. Don't know if that works on children or not. Take a few fingers off to try and get an extra growth in the arm. And probably shouldn't have said that, should I? Ooh. Anyway, right, so we've got another stub there. I mean, to be fair, there's not so much growth that I have to worry about things shading each other out. It's more about just getting that. I don't need to go too high on this, so we've got from here. I'm happy with the pad structure here. I'm happy with how high this is here. Lovely if this one actually came out, but I'm not sure it will with the energy it's got. But if we're looking up here, got a stub here which we can remove. And then I don't want this to go much higher, so we've got probably 1, 2, 3. If I was honest, I don't want to go any higher than that. So we're going to keep the height of it here and bring it down here. This one needs to grow up. I need this to grow a lot thicker to match that. This internal one is getting involved with this one here, and I still think I may end up cutting this one off lower here. But for now, let's just clear it out a bit. Oops. That could have been lethal for that. Okay. Taking off all the, well, I've got fronds at the back here, so hopefully what I want is a bud to come from in there, very close to that. I found with the Ginkgo, a little less predictable on that one. Let's deal with this. We've looked at this pad. That's got a bit of something on it. Got to watch that. Gosh. Ooh, sun is cooking again. And again, I'm going to apologise because I'm playing around with the shutter speed and double the wally and all the different numbers on the camera, and following the little thing that tells me whether it's overexposed, underexposed. But I won't know until I actually start doing the editing, as I found on an earlier video. So hopefully this won't be too bad, but better at least than when we were in the days of glare. Days of glare, that sounds really bad. I'm tending to get rid of any outward growing leaves just to give that pad shape. So this one's got 3 on it. I mean, the answer is probably I actually get rid of this internal one. That's what makes sense, isn't it? So I get rid of that one. That's as far as I'm going with that one. It obviously needs some Oceana mix. It's quite full in there, so it's going to get repotted next year, but overall pretty happy with how that's developing. What do you think? Okay, this next one has suffered from the unfairness of my wiring skills. It's potted in completely the wrong angle, and I think last time I did the repot I was intending to put it in the right pot, but for some reason didn't. I'm not sure what it represents, you know, waving birds, or I don't know. It's not as healthy as it has been. It's probably the worst year for us, which is telling me it wants to be desperate in a bigger pot. I'm not worried enough that I'm going to slip pot, but it's definitely going to stay in the shade. And in terms of pruning, well, the truth is that any of the new leaves are actually shriveling up. So I will tidy them up. If there's any that I don't think we need, I'll remove them. But seriously, this is one about looking after it. I probably asked too much of this in that last wire. It does look a bit weird with this very big bick out here. I can make that decision at another time. I was thinking about removing this, removing that wing. But you can sometimes get, I was hoping you'll get a bud back here, and that'll happen in the autumn, winter time. So let's just clean out some. Okay. Yeah, a lot of browning around the leaves here, so definitely need to keep an eye on this. There really isn't much I can do pruning wise. Looking at the wire, in fact I'm even tempted, I suppose this is a good time to raise it. When you've got a tree that, it's a bit like this, it's not performing as you want, sometimes taking the wire off can be the next best thing to do. Yeah, so wires off, definitely seem to breathe out with a sigh of relief, and so have I, because the sun's gone away again for a bit longer, I think. That's really it. I've put some food in there. There's some interesting movement there. I mean, there's all sorts of options. I could end up removing this here. I think with this one I've hung off for a while because, well, some of the decisions and choices that could be made, once you choose them, they're difficult to be unmade. And with Ginkgo, I think, again, what I'm saying is you're not going to get the same degree of back budding and everything, so that you can rebuild if you make a mistake. So I suppose with this one I've really wanted to be sure. But yeah, so that's that one. And again, give it a good watering, keep it somewhere out of it. Okay, well, it's about 3/4 of an hour. I've got them all pruned up, got them all oceaned. It's the first one. Again, slow steps. Please take a little bit longer to go. That's one of them. I've got this one. Now this one was the unusual one. Branches all over the place. Definitely got some wire on there, and we'll wait and see how it develops. But at the moment, I just want it to continue to flourish. Get lots of light and air into there. You know, we've got this three coming out of there, and I think I said at the time I'd probably lose one of them. I can't take the middle one because otherwise we're left with two parallel, and these just don't bend the right way. Although I might try manipulating the wire a little bit at the end of the year, take that wire off and try again. So there's that one. And we've got this one. Yeah, as you can see, definitely on its side. Who knows? Spinning that one round. Certainly interesting, that's for sure. Where it ends up, I really don't know. A couple more. Again, we're trying to overcome this very, very straight bit there, but yeah, healthy. We start getting these ones, absolutely no idea where we're going with it. Absolutely no idea. No idea. But it's been pruned. And then the last one is this one. And could have an interesting sort of umbrella shape. I'm not sure about this branch yet. Depends. If we end up putting the front there, maybe back branch growing up here, develops up this pattern here, that could be quite interesting. Otherwise it's a very two-dimensional. So yeah, that's me done with Ginkgo, and I won't go near these again until the leaves drop, I don't think. So those are done, and I'm quite happy about that. Hopefully you realise that there's nothing special or difficult about them. You've just got to stay on top of them at certain times of the year, and this is about the time I do the Ginkgo, beginning of spring and now, and then nothing more. Feed them up, keep them semi-shade, and see what happens. And as I say, it's amazing when you look at them in the early spring, there's suddenly new bud points, these big brown lumps just come up. Totally unexpected. So, from Xavier, the sun's streaming down across his face. I say thanks very much for watching. I do appreciate the time and effort you put in to watching my videos, because ultimately, if you don't like them, there's no point me doing them. Well, there's a point me doing the bonsai bit, not the videos. So, you know, you're keeping me fulfilled, you're giving me purpose, and that's got to be all good. So, happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.